Sure. Why not? Try to breeze through this as quickly as possible. Time me. And this watch doesn't actually have that function. The more I ramble, the more time I waste. So the Garfield movie is an animated movie starring Garfield that does not really resemble a Garfield movie. It stars Chris Pratt voicing Garfield right there. You could see it from the trailer. He's horribly miscast. Love Chris Pratt. I think he's great. I think he's a fine actor. I just don't think he needs to voice everything. Especially a curmudgeonous, grumpy cat that relies on deadpan humor like Garfield. Say what you want about Bill Murray being Garfield. Bill Murray cast as the voice of Garfield is actually really good casting. Interesting observation. Lorenzo Music voiced Garfield in Garfield and Friends. Bill Murray voiced Garfield in the previous Garfield movie. Lorenzo Music also voiced Pete Venkman in The Real Ghostbusters. Bill Murray famously played Pete Venkman in Ghostbusters. I always kind of saw Lorenzo Music, the voice of Garfield, as the animated Bill Murray counterpart. So Chris Pratt's voicing Garfield now. I say this as a dog person. He would voice a better dog. He sounds like an optimistic dog, not a grumpy cat. Like if Odie talked, he could voice Odie. If John did anything at all in this movie, he could voice him. Here's an example. Tell me what looks like it fits better.
You've obviously never been in an Olive Garden that's run out of breadsticks.
Or,
You've obviously never been in an Olive Garden that's run out of breadsticks.
and I will give the movie this, it absolutely positively lives up to what the trailer showed you. If the trailer looked like a lot of slapstick humor that doesn't land, yeah, the movie is exactly that. In a world of deceptive trailers, I give them props for being honest with the trailer. To be fair, I feel like this movie would have been at least fine if it was its own thing. If it was its own animated heist movie wrapped in daddy issues. If it had its original pet characters, you know, whatever. Still would have been a lot of slapstick that fell flat, but it wouldn't have the glaring issue of it being a Garfield movie that doesn't feel like Garfield. I genuinely think that's how this movie started out, but in the world of Hollywood, it's all about IP, baby. Intellectual property. How can we wrap this into something that already exists to sell it? How else are we gonna get that budget? Certainly not from that dating app money. Seriously, there's this oddly placed monologue. This lady's talking to John in the movie and she's like, John, you're single. You should get on those dating apps. There's Tinder, Bumble. Be sure to shell out that money for the premium subscriptions. I was like, what is this? In the end, there was an energy in the movie that I feel like if your kids are young enough, they might be entertained at the most basic level. This movie might be a fine babysitter to plug your kids into when it comes to whatever streaming service. One might think you could be like, hey, daddy's going to watch Furiosa, you kids go watch Garfield. Makes sense for a split second, but then you realize if your kids are old enough to go to the auditorium alone, in which they're gonna get out of the movie before you get out of Furiosa, if they're old enough to do that without you, they're probably too old for this Garfield movie. It's a movie I'm not gonna remember in T-1 day. Yep, already forgot. Or so the Garfield movie. Maybe that's what Chris Pratt brings to it. It's usually title the movie, but when Chris Pratt's the voice, it's the title movie. Strange? There's a consistency to this. But the Garfield movie, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what's a huge miscasting you've noticed in a movie? Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.